It's 11:11. I think it's 11:11. Too bad I'm working. I should probably be in my gate as a priest, setting the earth to rights. Maybe later today. Let's see. The recorded track on the train spurred me into thinking about persons again a little bit, and kind of a new idea to share about that. And I you kind of see my ability to talk about the respect of persons developing. And as I was thinking back about things I've shared before, I recognized that they're a little bit short in a couple areas. And what triggered me was the Spanish interpretation of that when you're in the certain seating section, you have to yield your seat for seniors and people with disabilities. The word personas came up in the Spanish translation of it. And I was thinking about faces again and persons and what's put on, and then that God's not a respecter of persons. And if you've never considered it, I might go ahead of you a little bit here. I might pass you up and just try and stay with it because it matters. Personas is the face that actors put on, the roles they play. And part of what's going on when it says that God does not respect persons, it means he doesn't respect the personas, the roles that have been put on. And I was thinking that really doesn't mean that God does not respect men, because God respects men in greater measure than anyone else does. Even me, which is, that's saying something. But he respects the rights and what he created them to be, and the right standing after the kind of mankind that they have gotten from him. He loves that, and he hasn't changed his ideas, hasn't changed his will. And it's not just that he doesn't give a lot of credit to what we put on as roles and privileges that men give men and things that they force men into, but I would actually say that he hates them. So when we have personas and we respect people, but because of their positions and because of the roles they play and the honors that are given them, privileges that are given them by other men and by agreements between men, we are always in danger of respecting something that God not only doesn't respect and measure by, but that God would despise as false measures. So he fully does not respect the personas, the faces, the put forward thing of men, and doesn't give weight to that when he measures them. He fully gives weight when he measures to the righteousness and the life and liberty that he gave men, and their standing with him. Your standing with him does not get affected by the privileges that men either take away or give to you. It has to do with an unalienable and unalienable, that they call it alienable, not a right that cannot be transferred and the control of given over to someone. And the question has been with me for, of course, for years, as one who expects to tie up Jefferson's try, whether rights are really alienable or not, whether you're allowed to transfer them. And men do commerce things, and they go into roles that they take on voluntarily and sometimes involuntarily, and they go into the privileges and the differences between men, and they go into the stratification of hierarchies and this caste systems, and this guy's great and that guy's cruddy kinds of things, and they go into judgments of, well, how much property you have, how much wealth you have, and whether that can be counted as honor to you, and whether you honor them. James rebuked him pretty severely for giving different levels of honor to people because of their possessions and their standing in society. Well, so but then God does respect something very much, and he respects what a man is, and he doesn't like the condemned, lowered version. He hates it, and he sends his son to die and to be a mediator between him and men, because he had a controversy with men and he needed it worked out. And even if you don't believe that God sent him, and you believe that Jesus just took over because he knew he's a priest of God Most High, you still get the same thing because and I want to talk about mediators a little bit pretty soon too, and maybe it'll be really quick right here. The mediator is not someone that goes and asks favors from someone. A mediator is someone who takes complete control of both parties in a dispute and decides for them. And they don't get to expect him to favor one or the other because of their standing. They expect that mediator to take over the whole situation and by force resolve it. When Jesus is a mediator between God and man, he's not asking God for favors for men. He's taking a God and a man and mankind who did not and would not or did not make peace with each other, didn't try to make peace and gain their friend and agree on the way to court. They didn't do that together, and so when Jesus takes a mediator role, he forces that. He forces God and he forces man to be at peace with each other. And it's not asking at all. It's a law of power demand, and it's force. Mediation is force. It's not bowing and petitioning in any way. It's full-on force. So that part has been handled. The forcing of man and God to be at peace with each other is done by him, and once and for all, and that kind of thing. And I was kind of thinking a little bit about the phrase, that he ever lives to make intercession. I kind of have to look at that and see whether I think that's important as I used to, and what I really think he means by that. Now, as far as the respect of persons thing again, if God does not give any weight, and even rather can be considered to despise the differences between men and the inequalities between men that men fashion, and he sees that as world and as condemned and as false judgments, false weighing of men who should be equal and men who should be in the full standing of sons. If he hates all of that and disrespects that and won't count that in any way and can be counted on not to do that, then what should we think about personas and differences in status of men? Do we want to disagree with God and say, well, yeah, look, he's really special, or he's got all that, he must be successful, or yeah, we volunteer to yield into his authority or whatever because he's the one that has he's the one that's gifted or that we've chosen to rule us and those kinds of things. How much respect should we be giving to persons when God, at his nature and dependably so, does not give any of it? So, how much of your role in the world and how much of the privileges should you contend for between men, and how much should you expect that the varying standing statuses, supposed authority positions, caste systems, national boundaries, and forming people into collectives and saying, well, that collective is crappy over there and this one's good, and those kinds of things, and how much favoring according to the roles that men put on do you think you should be doing? And when you're offended at what I say, as I try to reform you and help you and reform your righteousness and your views of it, and reform your priesthood and get you suitable for it, when I talk to you about not respecting be nicer or get in trouble with us, I'm trying to get you able to deal with that you have to make weighings and judgments in the proper glory of man according to the same way that God does to be one of his priests, and you can't say that it's that man over there's job and not mine, because what you've done is you've assigned a worldly respected person's role to one, and a disrespect and a lack of a role to yourself, and God doesn't respect that decision that you made. So when Jesus tells you to take heed how you measure, he expects you to measure, and he expects you to measure not by personas. And people couldn't figure out how he eats with sinners or whatever. If there's a prostitute drying his feet with her, wetting his feet with her tears and drying with the hair, doesn't he know he shouldn't touch her? He doesn't see her persona. He sees her glory in full measure as a member of mankind, and sees like God does. It's not a wonder that he didn't make a difference between who he socialized with, because he didn't make a difference between how he weighed them. And it's why he was able to be a mediator. It's why he was able to be a priest. And it was why he was able to carry weight of judgment. When he made a judgment, it mattered. And when he told a man that your sins are forgiven you, and they freaked out because they don't believe a man could have anything to do with that. It's not just that, they didn't believe that men could be forgiven. They thought the sin had to be covered over by animal blood, and that, someone has to pay me to absolve them of a certain amount of their guilt. Jesus said that, so you know that a man or son of man has power in the earth to forgive sins, rise up, take your bed and walk. And he demonstrated the harder thing. The easy thing is for men to remit sins. Remission of sins is going to be absolutely huge. The video that I did the other day, it's about an hour long. I'll probably share it pretty soon. I have a couple of days off here, and you'll see how useful I can be during the time. But when you think about the respective persons and evaluating them differently, and assigning different levels of honor to them, you really ought to think about stopping it. And you should really think about letting other people's decisions assign a place in this role that has you as a servant, as a slave, as one who's not worthy to stand as a man, because someone else does that for you, because someone else controls you. You should really stop thinking about allowing people to yoke you and put you into roles of slavery for themselves and for the sake of their gains. And you should really think about not whoring after Babylon's benefits. And it's not easy, because they've really taken everything over, and they really do deal out what they control, which is about everything. So it's not that special. It's not that special that this is the case. But you need to, at your heart level, in order to honor God and to respect Him properly and respect Him as Creator, you need to be in continual repentance until you're over it, respecting the personas and roles put on of men, whether they volunteer into them or not, or whether they're forced into them or not. You need to not see those. And it's not just a matter of, of not seeing the hard shell on people, but seeing the heart and whatever, and making those kinds of differences. That'll matter when you're ministering to people, but it's something else. It's favoring impartiality. When you're being partial and giving partiality to someone, you're giving someone a partial measure. You're measuring part to them. If you're giving partiality in the relationship between two people, you are portioning and giving only part of it to one of them, and giving too much to the other. You're not weighing properly, and your judgment is false, and it condemns you to do so. You need to stop condemning yourself by judging according to personas and the roles men put on. Oh, and then I think that forgive is going to prove out to be a word that means give face. It has to do with giving a man his face back, his taking shame away from him, so that he can stand in open face commerce with you. I'm not sure. I think for has to do with face, and give has to do with, of course, has to do with give. But I don't know about the etymology of the word. I'll have to look at it. But I've been thinking in those terms. Men give people back their standing when they're harmed by them, or they harm someone else. Here comes the train. It's going to be loud. I got to catch my bus. I hope you enjoyed that, and hope you're going to enjoy your repentance.